and I'm here today on May 23rd, 2010 with Cynthia Davidson, who is the inventor of the Wisdom Wheel. And can you tell me a little bit about the Wisdom Wheel?
Well, thanks for asking, Susan, and thanks for inviting me to be one of your video, what would we call it, subjects. If it hadn't been for you, actually, there wouldn't be the Wisdom Wheel, because when you first called me, we were trying to think of when it was winter of 94, 95. I had just read a book by Evelyn Eaton called The Shaman and the Medicine Wheel, and I'd gone out to the backyard and I'd tried to create a wheel, and I got a phone call from you about 4 days later after I'd laid those stones, and you and I hadn't spoken in more than 10 years. And you said, well, I just had this feeling I was supposed to find you on People Finder. And oh, by the way, I've become a medicine wheel teacher. And I learned from a woman named Joy, who was taught by a woman named Evelyn. And I could feel the hair on the back of my neck. And Evelyn herself, bless her soul, had been passed for over a dozen years at that point. And it just proved something very crucial to me about the value and the ability of this work to outlast us, and the idea that each of us, our own lives grow so much when we're able to dedicate ourselves to something larger than just ourselves and our lifetime. So as I was learning about the medicine wheels, I created one in my yard with a little more awareness that time, thanks to you and your teachings. And unfortunately, people would come to the house and they would see the circle of stones and they would think I was a witch or something, and they would have a negative impression instead of a positive impression. And this really troubled me, because I wanted it to be inviting people in, not excluding people and making them fearful. So I really prayed and searched my heart and asked for help from the universe of how, if I was supposed to work with this wheel, was I supposed to do my part for it with it? Because again, these are very ancient maps of reality and very ancient tools, but we also need to keep them current by whatever we can add to them, so we can share them with people and make them more welcoming. So I started to receive the actual words that were supposed to go on the stones themselves. And it turned out, as I slowly understood with my logical mind, that universal laws, which some people call natural laws or spiritual laws, were the words that were supposed to go on the wheel, on these, each law on an individual stone in the wheel. And I slowly started to understand, by working with this constantly, that there were 36 stones in the wheel that I was supposed to use, and you can actually see the poster here, which represents the wheel the way that Creator, Spirit, has instructed me in how to share it with people. And the wheel sort of took over my life at that point. After 20 years as in executive education and global management development work, after leaving my journalism job at CBS News, I really rededicated and redoubled my efforts with working with the wheel, partly because it gives people a set of values that they can test themselves and that they can use at whatever level they're ready, as much as they want, as little as they want. They don't have to make any commitments of changing their religion or anything like that. But there isn't a person in the world who wouldn't be able to have a fruitful conversation about balance, about integrity, about what's the right action, about trust, about higher purpose. And from all my years in the cross-cultural training work and living over 20 years overseas in 8 different countries and working in all these different countries, you learn that if people can communicate at the level of values and beliefs, the opportunity to have some sort of lasting bond is greatly improved. And few people know how to have these in-depth conversations about values and beliefs, because they get off on the tangents of their religion or their work in a way that tends to exclude people who are not of the same level or the same type as themselves. And this is a serious problem in today's global environment that we all live in. And so I find that the wheel, no matter, again, what the socioeconomic level the person is, what education level, what religion or what level of evolution their spiritual journey has brought them to thus far. There isn't a person who I haven't been able to enjoy a conversation with about this wheel. And also in teaching it, I've learned so much from the people who've been attracted to this model, if we could call it that, because they've used it in so many ways. The students that have finished my 3-year class, where we study one law each month, and we study the mental aspects of each of these laws. Then we study the emotional aspects, the physical, intuitive aspects, and the spiritual aspects in a very deliberate way over a 30-day period. And the stories they tell and the books that they find about each one of these principles, the conversations they relate that they had with people on trains or with their children. I remember one of the children, we have children's wheels now, where the parents who've been studying this for 10 years or more actually have been bringing their children. Sometimes the parents were involved in the wheel before the children were even born, and now we always have Christmas time and holiday parties where we have the children come. And the children that grew up with this wheel are a good reminder to us of the fact that we have to be involved in activities that are going to help the next generation and the generation after that, and to be able to speak constructively and positively about life, because the kids see a lot of negative images in the media, there are a lot of violence in the world, our country's at war. We really need some help to balance that out. And the wheel, much to my surprise, has also been embraced by churches. I did not expect that, which shame on me for assuming that the ministers and people wouldn't be open to this. One of the organizations that sold many sets of wisdom wheel stones actually was the Sisters of Mercy here in Connecticut. I was quite surprised by that. I didn't. Who knew that the nuns would take an interest in this? But that was a good learning and lesson for me too. But I've been very moved. Habitat for Humanity, General Electric Corporation. I mean, so many places that the wheel has gone. A lot of work with teens, with the Heads Up Hartford group, and the Methodist group in Barrington, Rhode Island, where they were putting together 40 teenagers to go down and do some mission work in the southern part of the United States, and they had a great time with the wheel. There are so many age-appropriate activities that people that have been involved with this wheel have created over the time of being asked to. There's one woman, Penny Copen, right now, who's working with a fellow who does rites of passage work with teens at risk in inner city schools. And Penny's been blown away by the way the children themselves have been able to understand the wheel and bring their own experiences to it in a way that the wheel allows them to share some sense of being understood as well as understanding others. So I would just like to close by saying a few